Okay. So it is December the 2nd. Now, is the volume okay? Can you guys hear me okay? Good. So I've been tinkering around with the technology and I wasn't sure whether everything was working as it should be. Okay. Why is there a message saying stop recording on the screen? Okay. I'll have to ask Gabby. She's got a stop recording message come up on her screen, but it's not on anyone else's by the looks of it.
Still says recording for us.
Yeah, it says recording on my screen, but on this disappeared now. On Gabby's it said stop recording. How bizarre. Okay, so I'm going to go into that quiet space. Doesn't happen often, but it's going to for 3 or 4 minutes. And the next voice you hear will be my spirit friends. What were you going to say, Val? You look like you're poised to speak. Are you going to make me lip read?
Trying to
You are.
unmute myself. If June comes back, do you want to make me co-host so I can admit her?
Yeah, I can do. Oh, June. Oh, June's just sent a message. Sorry, guys. Can't get in, back in, technical problem. I'll just say, okay, if you do join, Val will let you in.
Yeah.
Val will admit you. Okay, right. So let's make you the co-host then. Participants, Val. Make co-host. There we go. I've clicked on that. You should have something on your screen, Val. Is that okay? You should be the co-host. So you're going to make me lip read again, Val. Come on.
I haven't got co-host that I can see at the moment.
Well, okay. I mean, I've made you co-host as far as this is concerned. Let me double check. Yeah, on my screen it says Val co-host. Okay. Excuse me. Right, I'll mute myself. Okay. Suppose I should have asked if anyone's not seen Trance before. Maybe a bit late now. If you haven't, don't worry. My head should stay still. It's not prone to revolving, but if it does, then I'll let you know what I see. Mm. Well, good evening, my friends, and welcome. Welcome. Once more, we find ourselves entering into a sacred union of the heart and the mind. And let me pose a question to you. How do we truly, authentically communicate? Is it through the heart or is it through the mind? Let me ask you.
The heart.
And tell me why, my friend.
Because the soul is near the heart.
The soul is near the heart. And of course, love and the heart is connected to the essence of the soul. But let us think about how we perceive information. We could say that as an intelligent species, we have over many thousands of years developed reasoned and somewhat intelligent conversation that we have moved on in some ways from purely communicating through energy. But you know, when someone says something to you and it is just conversational and it is not with any particular emotion, and it can sometimes be difficult to understand the true meaning from their perspective of what they are saying. Because the heart has an intelligence. It has a force within it. And if you were to ask me, how do you work through the boy? We would say that first and foremost, we move that force of love from us to him, that we connect to his heart first, not his mind. That loving force gives him the understanding that we are with him, and then that sharing of the conscious mind allows him to perceive us, to know that we have something to say through him, not from him. So the essence of a conversation becomes more vibrant when you say it with love, when that force of love is within your words, that they hold more gravitas. They are not just empty syllables, but there is something deeper, something more meaningful contained within them. So when you think about communication with each other. Let us consider that prior to an intelligent language of the voice, how would a sentient being know that they were indeed under threat or safe? They would be connecting energetically. They would feel the force of love or not feel it to communicate safety. They would feel the intention of anger or threat prior to it even having a name. The point we wish to bring to you is for you to consider the emotion that you put into what you say. How do you give true meaning to someone? If you cannot put an emotion with it, or if you do not consider the emotion that you place with the word, then someone can be feeling one thing from you, but hearing something else. There is not a synchronicity between the words and the energy behind them. Does this make sense, my friends?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
Mm.
Because you know, sometimes you listen to someone, maybe as you listen to me, and you know that there is something greater. There is something more than just words that is speaking to you. There is the energy and the language of the heart itself, that it connects to you, becoming part of who you are, allowing you to know the truth of spiritual union. Communication is felt. You become part of it. You do not just listen to it. True communion is made through the heart. That yearning to be reunited with those that you love, that you grieve for, that is an emotive experience. It is something that is special. It is something that the very fabric of your body resonates with. Love is that force that you are looking for. Not this romantic thought of love, but that love that you have for your child, or your husband or wife, or the animal that is special in your life. When we communicate with love, we become our true self. You notice that stillness in between the words. You feel that resonant force where you understand who and what you truly are. Spirit is that vibration. You are a vibration. So why not make it a loving, a kind, and compassionate vibration? something that you give to others as a gift of love, even to a stranger. No one ever suffered from being exposed to more love than they could cope with. But you do suffer from a lack of love in your life, forgetting where you came from and what you need as a sentient human being. You all need love. You all came from a place of love. And for the life of you, you search for it. You try to find meaning with it and to express it. If you think about it, it is so much part of your life. Why ever try to deny it from yourself? These are the thoughts that we wish to share. But now we wish to offer the opportunity that if you have a question for us, with this collective consciousness that is with the boy, we will do our best to help you. So, my friends, who would like to ask a question?
Yes, I would.
Pauline, are you
Yes.
wanting to ask a question?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Thank you.
Is schizophrenia anything to do with attachments, or is it something that's not correct in the brain?
Well, my friend, here we have a complex and sensitive topic to speak of. But let us talk about the human organism. You know, as we look to the tree in the springtime, how it looks vibrant, how the leaves have the most wonderful colors, how that vitality is there in abundance. But as the year goes by, the tree undergoes this transformation, that the energy, the life force of the tree reacts to its environment, to stimuluses, to viruses, to the effects of the climate upon it. Think of the body and all of the organs within as being subject to the same forces, the same genetic differences, the same ways in which in many ways we are the same, but in some ways we are subtly different at the most microscopic of details. Now that brain, to have the schizophrenic condition, has differences to whatever you would describe as being a normal brain. But can we really say that someone with schizophrenia is not normal? They may experience life in a different way. They may be subject to influences that are different to the majority. But let us look at them with the same eyes as anyone else and say they are a different kind of normal. But physiologically, there are differences. And you will notice ways in which they do not maybe mirror your own perspectives and opinions. Now, allowing the virtue of what is reasonable to guide this conversation, having the opportunity to observe someone that is of this different behavior and character, it leads to insight, an understanding of what makes us unique but also different. It gives us the opportunity to assess through observation how the mind reacts to stimulus, to perspective, to questioning, to reasoning. And the schizophrenic condition, while we would not say that we are experts in this by any stretch of this conversation, it is a condition that can be passed genetically from family member to family member. And at some point in the distant past, there would have been a trigger that would have brought about that condition on the first recipient of it. But it can travel through that genetic coding and afflict those that subsequently are born within this family. So we have to look at it as many things. That if a father is born with a big nose, then maybe a son will also have a big nose. But it does not make them any less perfect. It just makes them a different kind of normal. My friend, does this help you in some way?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful question.
Any other questions? Oh, Diane, would you like to give your question?
Thank you. I have a question regarding animals, because we love our pets so much. Do animals always reincarnate as animals? Or could they be human? Or would they stay the same species?
Well, my
Thank you.
friend, it seems that we have more than one question, and with your third question, I believe you have answered the first two. So, there is the opportunity for an animal to reincarnate, to have another bite at the cherry, so to speak. But it is not interspecies. So in the same way that a human may choose to revisit the human form, culturally, you have that choice. The orientation of you becomes a choice. The skin color becomes a choice. But you cannot go from being a man to a dog or from a dog to a cat. Let us think about the species themselves, the unique ways that they are all the same at a very primitive level. So a dog has a leg at each corner, that at its very most basic need is that need to procreate, that need to survive, that need to feed. These are the basic needs of it as an animal. But through the experience and the exposure to that human consciousness, that animal becomes more conscious. It becomes more aware. In essence, if you wish to describe it as a vibration or a level of understanding, that animal is growing beyond its peers, that it is having a conscious experience that would exceed that of an animal of its own breeding that was not exposed to the human. So it becomes more aware and more conscious, but ultimately it stays as an animal. It stays in that form as the dog. But its offspring could also start to benefit from that consciousness being part of its essence, and that when it breeds, those traits within it can still at some level influence the subsequent litters, so that your own spiritual growth, whether you are canine or feline or human, you can influence the future generations by how you think, because your consciousness affects the outcome of those that you give birth to and those subsequent births. But it cannot travel sideways to a new species, my friend. It can only gain in its awareness, its consciousness within its own species. I would say, though, in some ways, it would be that a human may need to raise their vibration to become that of a dog, because I have not seen a dog act with anger or spite or greed. A dog is one of those animals that wags its tail at you, even if you scowl, if you shout at it. The next time it sees you, it will still wag its tail at you. Now, how many humans can say that they would behave the same way if someone was to shout and scold you? Because the animal is living in this moment. The animal is being loving in its nature. And it knows how to love you truly, unconditionally. It is just a great pity that they do not live as long as a human. My friend, does that help you?
It does. That was a wonderful answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Hmm.
Will be another question, friends. Oh, may I? Ward, you've got a question.
Thank you, Val.
Please go ahead.
Good evening, friends. My question is around loved ones as they transition to spirits. Is there some learning, some time required in the spirit world for them to be able to communicate with us?
My friend, it is such a multifaceted answer that we can only really come from a few different perspectives, but let us start here. Let us say, for example, that the human physical form has undergone a great malady of intelligent degeneration, let us say like the Alzheimer's, let us say like dementia, where that consciousness has been repressed in some way due to this physical restriction. Let us say that there can be a period of adjustment, a period of suddenly not being encumbered by this physical disability, this mental disability that restricts them as a physical person. Because, of course, the physical restriction is no longer happening because there is no physical body for it to happen to. But the psyche, that consciousness, it was part of a physical body, it was part of this mental condition. And there may be a time of adjustment, my friend. But once that human form lets go of its earthly vehicle, it is not encumbered by restriction, my friend. Where there is love present, where there is a willingness and a force for communication, and there is someone to listen to their thoughts, to be aware of their presence, my friend, they are more vibrant than at any point of your life. They are there, they are willing to be heard. But of course, it is a conscious decision. If the person wishes to be heard, they can make themselves heard. If you are willing to communicate with these discarnate entities, and let us face it, there are many people who will stand around their graveside and they will mourn the loss of the person. They will look down into that hole in the ground, and that is where in their mind that person resides. But the fact that you are here as part of an audience says to me that for you and everyone else, that you believe and understand and maybe know that that human consciousness is indeed living on in this new unrestricted form. But can you imagine what it would be like if you could freely hear all of those voices calling for someone to hear them? We could refer back to our previous friend and say, it may seem that when we hear lots of voices within our mind, that we could say we are exhibiting schizophrenic tendencies. But I know for certain that there are people within institutions who are nothing more than extremely sensitive to those in a discarnate form. So in a way we can answer and revisit the question, because there are those who do not have that understanding or a culture around them or an environment to say, I know what you are experiencing. And maybe in a snap moment of judgment, that someone could say, well, if you are hearing voices, you must be schizophrenic. And there are people who are heavily medicated, who are nothing more than a sensitive soul, without the answers to the questions that they had. Does that answer both of those questions, my friend, with more clarity?
It does very well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you to Pauline. We hope you have revisited your question with greater depth, my friend.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm. Mm. I kind of feel like I'm a zoo exhibit with people staring at me. Mm. Will no one speak to an old man?
Yes. Well, I'd be happy to speak to an elderly gentleman.
Mm. Come along then.
Right, well, I was very interested to hear some discussion the other day about water. And I do understand that water has memory and can hold information. I hadn't thought about taking it a step further, which was what I heard, by sending your own messages to water and then drinking it. So putting your intention forward in a thought form to a glass of water and then drinking it. And so in a way, you're reabsorbing or reinforcing your own wishes and desires. I thought that was rather clever.
Well, if we look at the correlation between drinking a glass of water, my friend, and then the whole sense that 70% of your body is water. And
Yes,
so if you think a positive and a loving thought, it goes within this 70%. So that's from the chest down, isn't it? So what's the difference between thinking into your own body and thinking into a glass of water? It's
yes,
still resonating, isn't it?
it
You're
is.
still bringing it back to you.
Indeed.
I think it's a jolly marvelous idea.
Mm.
In a way, we could say that it's in the form of a prayer. Let's say a prayer for our food and then consume the food. Well, of
Yeah,
course, the food will contain the thoughts, the energy, the intention.
lovely idea.
I think it's a wonderful idea.
Mm.
Jolly good idea. What a lovely question.
Mm.
Mm. Next.
Well, Pauline's got a question, but
Yeah.
yes.
As our main guide is always with us from birth, at what stage does he leave or she leave, depart on our death?
Why is there a need for departure, my friend?
Well, I wondered whether the guide then has his own path or her path to lead, because they will have learnt the experience of being in with us during our lifetime.
Mm. But do you not think that when you ascend to the pearly gates, my friend, that the learning will not continue?
Oh no, I agree. Yes, it will continue.
So why is there the need for the cessation of the connection?
Well, I just sort of thought that the main guide would sort of move further on.
My friend, let us look at the purpose. You in your essence are a loving lady, yes?
Yeah,
You're seeking guidance and in some way mm, some sort of creator of a path by virtue of your spirit friends, yes?
yes,
And you seek to learn as you go.
yeah,
Who's the teacher?
I am.
You're the teacher for the guide, and the guide is the teacher for you. You see, there's this symbiosis, isn't there?
Yeah,
The guide's wondering what a jolly good mess you've gotten yourself into. And you're wondering what the guide can do to help you. You see, you're experiencing life from a conscious perspective in a physical vehicle, body, suit. And your guide's wondering what it must be like to feel the ground beneath your feet, to
yeah,
breathe the air. What does it feel like to breathe air? What does it feel like to be a human with restrictions, with emotions that guide you, that force you down avenues you don't want to go down? What is it like to be a human in a place that feels so terribly alien at times? Think of those wonderful answers that you can give them by virtue of sharing your consciousness, your thoughts with them. What a wonderful experience to be human. And then from the spirit perspective, maybe we see possibilities, probabilities, dead ends. And as we watch you, you consciously create your own future by the decisions you make now, this day. Tomorrow is the result of your entire life, plus what you decide when you wake up. That's what it is to be human. That's what it is to say yes to life. to turn left and not right, to have tea and not coffee, to love or to hate? That is your question. Life is a drama in some ways, but my friend, it's a beautiful experience. It's a deep joy, a way of expressing your consciousness, your humanity, your spirit. And my friend, when this experience that you call life is over, why in God's name would we want to abandon you at that moment of your passing? When suddenly all that you thought you knew was a lie. And you take your last breath in one world, you take your first breath in the next. And there we are. Action and reaction. Energy just finding a new way of expressing itself, my dear. Isn't that wonderful?
Yes.
How does that grab you?
Yeah. I look forward to it when the time comes. Not yet, though.
Indeed. Thank you.
Bless you.
Any other questions?
Come along, we're getting warmed up.
Before I take the opportunity, oh, Suzanne, please, yes, let's unmute and hear you.
Hi. Regarding physical mediumship, there seems to be a lot of different opinions about does it have to be performed in the darkness? Some say it's not necessary and it's even real in the broad day of light, in the broad light of day. Yeah, I'm wondering, is it possible both ways or is it just one way? And there are some people who are called frauds. I'm just wondering about it.
Well, it's a very complicated situation, my friend. But let us go to its fundamental point. Why communicate? Why the point of communication?
To show that life goes on.
Yes. Now let us think about the many ways in which we do this. There are those that stand upon a platform or an altar. There are those that allow people such as myself to speak through them. There are those that are sensitive and write about their spiritual experiences through poetry, or place it upon a portraiture as a form of art. But it's all communicating a message. So let us look at the people involved. The purpose of spirit communication is to prove that there is something beyond this physical existence. But it is not about being an evidential anything. It is about showing that the essence of love survives death, that grief is a mirage in the existence of life. Now, when we speak of physical phenomena, There are many ways in which it can be portrayed. But just as all of you are one aspect of humanity, I can say with great certainty that you are all human. And yet with equal certainty and vigor, I can say that none of you are the same. So as we are working with a organic compound, namely your body, we are working with a mental construct, namely your mind. The experience of working with one medium or another presents equal challenges. There is the doctrine, dogma, rules, regulations that say that something must be performed in a certain way. Well, if that floats your boat, then jump on the boat and off you go. But I do believe that the spirit communicators are probably in a unique position, in that given the opportunity, they can allow phenomena to happen in the conditions that they wish to operate in. They being the spirit communicators. Would we go up to a pond, grab a fish from out of the pond and say to the fish, "We want you to do things differently, my friend. We have found a new way of being a fish"? Well, of course we wouldn't. What a preposterous idea. And yet the people come to the spirit world and say, "We want to communicate with you, but you must do it as we decree." That sounds awfully like dogma and doctrine to me. It doesn't say that we are offering free will to the spirit world, does it? That we want the spirit world to operate in a way that is commensurate with the views and opinions of those that are seeking to control it. Why? There are people who have bilocated hundreds of years ago, prior to this advent of modern spiritualism. It's another ism, isn't it? Conservatism, spiritualism, barbarism. What the spirit world needs is an open heart and mind, and allow us to do what we can do. Now, whether you seek to be the medium that operates in the darkness, well, of course, if you do this and we can operate in those conditions, we shall. But you leave yourself open to ridicule, to scorn, because mankind, if he's nothing, he is not skeptical, isn't he? Mankind is a naturally skeptical and curious beast. So if you are hiding something in the dark, of course he's going to call fraud. But I come back to what we spoke of before, the questions and answers. That we must look for the presence, the feeling of spirit within the walls that you work in. We must look for spirit to express itself with free will. To not be constricted, but allow a medium to be just that, a medium, not the controller. Allow us to work through you and with you, not in spite of you. Place someone's hands behind their back, tie them, and then push them over. Well, it doesn't make for a pretty sight, does it? Allow someone the freedom to operate. That's someone being us. And maybe those miracles that you're seeking are seeking you. The mindset of the medium, the ego of the human, will be a controlling factor. So you purify your mind. You go into it with a self of reverence. What you do, who you are as a person will affect the outcome. If you are loving and open, then beautiful things will happen. If you are seeking to control, then you restrict us. Does this help you in some way, my dear?
Yes, thank you. Perfectly.
Yes.
Thank
Now, my friend, do we have any more questions?
We do. We have Jenny who wants to ask a question.
Welcome, my dear.
Hello. I'd like to ask, so in the difficulties of daily life and what we go through in the human experience, how would you suggest that we live at the fullest expression of who we truly are?
Ah, the beautiful question. My friend, the beauty of the question is only answered by something equally as beautiful. And that is, we live with a sense of love, a sense of wonderment and joy, that even in adversity, there is a strength to be gained, that there is that opportunity for personal insight. By facing adversity, by facing the world as it is, you know that you cannot change the whole world, but you can change the way that you think about the world that you see. So that all of you exist within the realms of the world. Let us call it that. But all of you might say that the world is beautiful for different reasons, and the world is unjust for different reasons, and the world is evil for different reasons. And there are many things that may cause you to say these things. But how you view the world, your interpretation of it, your willingness to either fight against it or go with it, that is your choice. That is what it is to be human. That is what it is to find out what growth is. We could say, why, if there is a God, there is this intelligent force, why would they bring suffering to us? And it is a reasonable question. Sometimes the suffering is brought to us by us. How we think, how we behave. It is a force that is going into the ether around you, and it will attract such energy to you. Your thinking is a force that will attract that energy back to you. Think of your thoughts as a boomerang. As you throw it out, it will return to you with greater force, greater sense of presence. So be careful how you think. Sometimes life will present a challenge, my friend, and you think to yourself, do I really have what it takes to surmount this challenge? Maybe this is one mountain that is too high. But I would say, my friend, rather than look to the summit and see how high it is, just look a few steps ahead and see how achievable those few steps are for you. And then look at the next few steps. And before you know it, you are on the top of that summit and you are able to go down the other side and said, I overcame that obstacle because I was not frightened about how high it was or how difficult it seemed, but I was able to view it one small piece at a time. Life was never meant to be fair. I do not even believe that the word fair is a word that should be in your vocabulary. Life is just life. Whether it feels fair or just is irrelevant. Life will happen to you. There is no doubt. The cells within your body will break down. You will succumb to disease at some point in your life. Because you are this organic being. Being restricts the spiritual essence of who you are. All things change. Empires are built and then fall. Life is just this myriad of emotional roller coasters, intense highs, deep lows. But there is also that middle ground where you have that time to consider what you see. Think about it. The human should seek solitude. It should seek time to find those answers as they rise within you. Give us time to enter into that silence with you, to share your mind, to share a space within your heart. The world is a busy place, but allow that mind to settle. Allow it to become like the mirror mill pond and see the answers they are reflected back to you. I hope that helps you in some way, my friend.
Thank you.
Now, how are we fixed for time, Val?
It has just gone 8:10. How are you fixed for time?
Well, as an entity that does not need to eat, then we are good. If there are more questions, we will take them. If not, we can bring it to a close. It is your decision, my friend.
Well, can I ask a very seasonal question, really, and I've left it till the end, just in case we had a bit of time. And it's about Father Christmas.
Mm.
And the closer we get to Christmas, the bigger these Father Christmases appear to us and to children. And what are your views on that illusion of Father Christmas? And then the ultimate disappointment to children, and the discovery that adults have told them fibs, people who they've trusted so much. And Father Christmas is this big thing to them, and it's used as a bribe, a threat, sometimes an encouragement, to suddenly realise on the playground that he doesn't exist after all. What a devastating thing, I think, to put some children through. And does it set up perhaps the thought that, can we trust adults if they tell us such big fibs?
Well, my friend, there are the quite pertinent questions that you have raised. And of course, it does in some way bring about a sense of separation and a sense of judgment from child to child. Because if, let us say, for example, if a child has very grand wishes and it says that Santa Claus, I have been a good boy or a good girl, and I wish for a bicycle and a pony and this and that and many clothes. The reality is that the Father Christmas is really a hard-working mother and father, a hard-working grandparents who have pressures upon their financial resources. And if on Christmas morning the child looks at the parents and says, "But mother, I was a good boy or a good girl, and Father Christmas did not bring me the bicycle or the pony. There is a sense that the, the gift giving is dependent upon the child behaving in a certain way. And it is a tool that a parent would use to hold sway over the child. If you are not a good child, Father Christmas will not bring you presents. Well, what about the families who have a very big heart and would love to give their children with many things, but they do not have the resources? Because it could be that they are unemployed or circumstances have left them with very little to offer. And yet what truly matters, my friend, is what is within the heart of those that are giving the gift. So if we give lavishly, but we do it from a sense of financial abundance and a sense of, look at how wonderful I am, then it is almost a hollow gesture. Whereas if we explain to the child, and children are very much more resilient than maybe they are given credit for. And if we explain, look, my friends, we are coming up to a holiday season, and we know that you will have wishes, and we will try to fulfill some of those wishes in the best way that we can. But there are some things that we are not able to bring to you. A child will be understanding, and it will understand that there is a, a real world out there. But for some of a certain age, my friend, we must respect that. Can a child of, let us say, 3 or 4 years old, understand the concept of financial abundance or financial poverty, but as an adult showing the example? Let us just reward the child with his sense of love for who they are and a sense of being loved always. I do not feel that a loving home is defined by the gifts that are stacked beneath the tree, but it is the actions of those within the home that make you feel loved and that give you a sense of connection to those who are close to you. And as you grow older, it is a wonderful mindset and emotional tool within your armory that we can equate true happiness with what is within the heart and that love that is shared freely that has no financial cost. So they are wonderful points that you raise, my friend. I fear that in a time of consumerism that we are certainly not going to make very many Father Christmases unemployed anytime soon.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much. Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you,
Now, my
everybody, for your questions.
the opportunity to share a sacred space with you is a wonderful privilege to us. The opportunity to once more have a voice through the boy. It is something that we cherish. Communication happens in many ways. In whatever way you seek to express your mediumistic nature or your sensitivity, we ask you to do it with a sense of reverence and a sense of love, not only for yourself, but for those that you speak to. Understand the great power in your words, and understand that behind that power should be the essence of love. Love is that force. It is behind who you really are. And it is something that benefits all. If you give it away, there is always more than enough to go around. And it is something that the world does need right now. The world does need people that think with love within their mind and heart. So where you see anger or war, hold them in your mind, hold them within your heart space, and send to them that essence of love. And to say, even as my foe, even as my mortal enemy, I will not send anger to you to empower you to hate me more, but I will send love to disempower you, to allow you to know that despite what you do, that love is still available to you. Where you send your thoughts, there is an action. So be mindful where you send them, and be mindful what you send. My friends, thank you so much for joining us this evening. And we hope to once more share this space with you. But for now we say good night and thank you.
Good night. Thank you too.
Thank you.
My goodness. God, it does seem awful bright when you open your eyes again. Hello.
Hello. Hey.
Hello. Hello, Junebug.
Hello.
And relax. Okay. All good?
Yes, thank you. Very
Yeah.
interesting.
Thank you, Val.
Welcome.
Been the hostess with the mostest.
You're very welcome, and it was a privilege.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I really love it. Look, it's lovely to share this space. So there's like another 12 people want to share my weirdness on a Monday night, and there must be so many good things on TV. So either you haven't had a good look at the TV guide, or you're genuinely interested in what me and my spirit friends have to say. And I really appreciate that. I'm happy to take questions if anyone wants to ask questions of any sort about whatever, random, trance, anything. Yeah, Diane.
I don't know all your guides. It sounded like there was a quite a modern voice, almost like yours, quite modern words and things. Is there a
Yeah.
third guide?
Yeah, there was, I think to my knowledge, there was probably 4 that spoke tonight. I felt a shift in energy at least 3 times. But they also, imagine like, it's very odd to say how it is, but imagine you are all my guides and you're in a circle around me. The guide that is speaking simply is the one that's closest. All right. So at any time it's Diane, then Suzanne she wants to be the voice, and then Val, and then Lydia, and then Ward, and then it might go back to Suzanne and someone else. And also the question will often influence which guide answers it. So it's like some guys like to talk about certain things, some guys like to talk about other things. They're like us. I like to talk about trance, but not so much about, I don't know, joinery. All right. So it's kind of like there's a sense that, not a sense that, I know that they know kind of what's coming up, and they know that that person is best placed to answer the question. And so that's how it works. It was interesting. There was someone that spoke tonight, hasn't spoken for quite a long time. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Didn't expect to hear from you. Because just as I think I know how it's going to work, they change it. All right. So it's always the same guide starts every time. It's always him. And then I feel
Yeah.
this transition. And then I think, oh, okay, it's you. And then suddenly there was someone that I recognize. Well, I recognize them all, but someone I recognize that doesn't often speak. And then my ears prick up and I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Haven't heard from you for a long time, but there they are. So it's yeah, it's beautiful. I don't even know what the question was. What was the
No, don't
question,
worry.
Diane?
Well, it was just like the last voice, probably the one you've just made that comment about. I've not heard that one before, but I
Yeah.
recognise the other two.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
no hesitation. They literally just swap. Next one starts.
Yeah, there is.
Absolutely
We don't.
seamless.
Yeah, we don't need to stop and start. It's consciousness, isn't it? It's not like pressing stop and record. So it's like that. But this is why when we get too technical, when we think too much about a process, and we don't allow it to be what it is, which is natural. Spirit communication isn't okay. Someone's now joining. Okay, spirit communication isn't something that we need to learn as such. It's something that we just carry on being. All right. So I can't explain it. I didn't learn. I didn't need to learn. Hello, Lisa. Unfortunately, you've come an hour and a half after the start, but you're still welcome.
Oh, it says 8:30 on the thing.
Does it? Oh,
Yeah.
I know what's happened. You've seen the this. So this is my. This is
Sorry, don't worry. I'll come another time.
no. That's come. We'll be back again in 2 weeks. But I know what's happened, Lisa. I saw it earlier. A lady messaged, and I saw the message. It said, "Does it start at 7 or 8:30?" When I clicked on the link, I noticed that it said 8:30. I had put the finish time for the start time, and
don't
then
worry.
there was
It's all right,
then
don't
there
worry.
was no end time. The good news,
I've got the
Lisa,
last 2 minutes.
the good news is, well, you get to listen to me just but there's that. But I have recorded it, and if you want to send me a message after this, I will share the recording link to you so you can watch it back at your leisure.
Oh, okay, that'd be fab.
But absolutely, I'd love to see you back in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
And my apologies, the 8:30 thing was me. I did correct it, but unfortunately, wherever you've seen it,
It was
if
on the Veronica Jenkins list. You know, she does the list for spiritual
does
online.
she? Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know. So unfortunately, it is
Don't
my
worry,
mistake,
don't worry.
and I
Don't
hold my
know.
hand up to that.
It's all right, don't worry.
You've noticed I'm a man. It's what we do. All right,
It's fine.
it's what we do. So yeah, but feel free to carry on for what we're doing. So yeah, Diane, it is seamless because that's how it's meant to be. So, and I never had to, I never asked for them to do it, to be honest. It just so happens that the more I sat, the more I suddenly realized, hang on a minute, the energy's changed. And then the voice changes. And then the feeling of them as spirit people. I feel their personality and their character within me. And so this is why I never have any doubt that they're there. Because I feel that shift and I'm like, oh, okay. Some of them are a little bit more, they feel like that, like you need to sit back and listen. Others are more like they'll place their hand around your shoulder. And others just like a bit more, they like it to be more lighthearted. So different strokes for different folks. And yeah. Jenny, what was your question? I get excited. I like talking about it.
I don't know if you can actually answer this, but obviously I'm just because obviously haven't really done it that much. But
yeah.
So how much of you is in that versus how much of the guide? And obviously you're saying, I mean, I know I'm not asking for a percentage here, but are you aware of any of that? And you know, when you said when it shifts, my ears prick. I've been told by other, you know, in the past that you know, that you can kind of come out, and then you're coming out of trance because you're coming back into your conscious mind, and you're supposed to stay out of the way. Do you not agree with that?
No.
No. Okay.
Now, what I will say is that the medium can put the brakes on it. All right. So if, for example, if everyone referred to me as Andy and they kept saying, "Hello, Andy, I'd like to ask a question," what that will do is, because I know who Andy is, I will immediately, my consciousness kind of rises and I become more aware, because remember, trance is like a very passive, like I'm kind of asleep and awake at the same time. Think of it like I've gone to sleep and yet remained awake.
Okay.
That's kind of what trance is like. So when you say Andy, 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 and I go, why do they keep saying Andy? My mind is going much more into that awake state. All right. So I'm starting to become aware. Whereas when it's just like, but I couldn't tell you what the first question was asked, probably most of the questions. I don't even know who asked the first question. Who answered the first question?
Pauline.
Was it Pauline, was it? Okay, interesting. See, this is it. So I couldn't even remember who that question was. So Pauline asked the first question, but I've no idea what that was. All right. So I'm sure in the moment, I'm aware of what Pauline says, but the answer is coming to me before I even have time to think about it. So the difference with trance and a normal, I want to say human mind, but just bear with me. Trance is an answer goes to you through me. Thinking is an answer comes from me to you. So there's the difference. So it's the equivalent of, am I working psychically or mediumistically?
Yeah.
Psychically, the answer comes from you. Mediumistically, the answer comes from spirit through you. And it's the same with trance, because it's a mental mediumship aspect, although it runs the line of, it can run into the line of physical as well, because it's on the borderline, isn't it? So that is my honest answer, and that's what I truly believe to be right. And the spirit communicators are the ones that control who's speaking. I don't ask for anyone. I don't even ask for the first guide. I just say, all right, I'm closing my eyes now. Whoever's going to speak, speaks. All right. So I don't control who speaks, and they decide when they change. And it's entirely up to them. But at no point am I unaware. But I'm just not trying to control it. I'm just like sitting here. It's like you guys having a conversation with someone and I'm earwigging.
All right. Okay.
It's like, that's all like going, oh, that's interesting. And, yeah, and then Pauline says, da, 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 da. And then the guy goes, blah, 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 blah. And I think, okay. That's it. That is exactly how it feels. So all of this trance is only trance if you're completely unaware, darling. Absolute rubbish. Rubbish. Don't subscribe to it. Yeah, Lydia, and then James, you had your hand up.
Please, Lydia, go first.
Lydia.
Hi. I was wondering, for like being in a trance state of healing, I would like to have your opinion about it. What the difference is between, like the healing with your own guide. So I have my own healing guide, or what do you think about the difference? And can you tell me a little bit more about it? What's the difference between the trance healing and the healing from your own, healing guide?
Well, if you're working
perspective?
with your own healing guide and in a state of entrancement, it's the same thing. All right. So what you're doing is, let's say my hand, this is Lydia, and this is your healing guide. All right. So you are going to say, hello, here I am. I'm going to go into trance. And then the guide is going to go, well, I'll join you. And there you are. So there's both of you together. And then you're working with your patient and you're saying to the healing guide, in effect, here I am. Do what you need to do. All right, because it's not about you. This is it. We're control freaks. We want to be in charge. Whereas, so what you're doing, you're saying,
No,
I
I'm
want,
quite lazy, so I don't want to.
you're quite, yeah, you're quite easy like that. But it distracted me. But you, in effect, I think when we think it's us that's doing the healing, that's when our ego comes into it, and when we kind of dilute the efficiency or the efficacy of it. Oh, hello, someone else has turned up. Oh no. Oh man, I feel so guilty now. This is terrible. Okay, I'll say hello. So I forgot what I was saying. So, but when we just say, for example, if I had the person was laying on the treatment couch, and I'm saying to my spirit friends, okay, trance healing guide, healing team, whoever needs to work with me, here I am. I'm going to make myself available to you. It's up to you to direct the energy, whatever healing needs to be done in the way that you see fit. So it's like I just become like an empty vessel, and which is really interesting because there's a beautiful book called Fool's Crow, and it's about a guy called Frank Fool's Crow, who was I'm pretty sure he was a Lakota healing man, and he said that his kind of life's work was about he had to become a hollow bone. And so what he said is that each morning, and he would do his ceremonies and his prayers to like the Great Spirit or however he called it. And he said all of his thoughts, all of everything that he thinks, he needed to purify. He needs to think really lovingly about everyone without exception. He needed to pay reverence to the elements, the seasons, the world around him. And this was a guy living in effect what is like a third world country. The reservations was a brutal life, and they were treated appallingly. And he lived to be 99 years old. And this is where the average age was in their mid 40s. All right. So this guy, through this purification of his mind and the love that he shared, and him saying that he needed to be this hollow bone, he was saying, look, it's not about me. The Great Spirit, please work through me. Do whatever you need to do for Lydia. And that's what happened. And many of the Native Americans that worked in that way, they lived tremendously long lives, much, much longer than their contemporaries. And I think it was about the way that they approached life, the way that they thought, the way that they loved, the way that they were in reverence to the world around them. And it was just about becoming part of everything and not seeing yourself as the source of anything, but all things are
Become the
possible
whole,
through you.
to
Coming from
become
the
the
heart,
holy bone. Yeah.
I know that you work that way. So you've already ticked those boxes, Lydia. And so it's just a question of more opportunities to work that way. I know I've digressed a lot. You expect that from me. So yeah, hopefully that still answers your question.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Thank you very
James,
much.
what did you want to ask? Thanks, Lydia. That's a lovely question.
Andrew, thank you. It really resonated with me, what you guys were saying. Now, may I ask,
Yeah.
from your beginning of your journey, when you're obviously aware of the blending with your guides,
yep.
Over the period of time with practice, do your guides help you to step away and become more of the observer further away rather than being sort of too close to it?
I don't. Well, the answer is probably they help me because there's a vested interest in them being more dominant in the conversation than me.
Okay.
But I think, to be honest, James, the simple answer is that the repetition and the time spent within that connection, regardless of whether you speak or not, that's really what gives you that sense of it's the medium's ability to feel comfortable and to trust and to love the experience. That is what will allow you to almost just lay back, go, whatever, I'm just chilled here. This is perfect. I don't want to be anywhere else. Because in the start, I'm sitting in the chair and I'm probably shaking, and my heart is going bum 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 bum, and there's people watching me, and I'm thinking,
I
oh God,
understand.
they're
I
watching,
understand.
they're watching. Oh no, oh
Yeah.
God, will they say anything? And all I can feel is fear.
Right.
So
And
am I trusting? No.
yes.
Do I eventually learn to trust? Yes, I did after 6 months.
Right. Yeah.
It
Because
took a long time. My classes are almost like therapy because I'm telling everyone everything I did wrong. All right. And I'm saying, look, don't do this, do that. Not a good idea. Don't do this because that's a bad idea, but do this. All right. Because experience gives you a direct understanding. And so having that fear is where I've been. Having that doubt, having no confidence, been there, done it, got the t-shirt, got lots of them.
yeah,
Wardrobe full of those t-shirts.
and it gets better as the journey
Absolutely. The
goes
thing
on.
that
Yeah.
helps. Here's the thing. The biggest step is the first word. All right. And so
Hmm.
all of you will sit there and go, right, spirit, it's your turn, speak. Wrong. You need to sit there. You need to make that connection. Like I said to Lydia, you've done this. You're connected with spirit. You feel their presence and you feel their love. And then you're waiting for them to just go, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't happen. And then you go, damn it. But when you feel this connection, you're like that. There's a word, like an earworm, is going around in your mind. And it may just be happiness. And you just find yourself saying, hello, ladies and gents. We wish to talk about happiness. And that is like someone has broken the dam. As soon as you say, we would like to talk about happiness, they suddenly go, right, and now say this, and follow it with that, and follow it with that. And it may be in the first few weeks or months, you say a sentence. That's massive. That's a big, big deal. Don't look at it as failure.
No,
It's a
no,
big
not at
deal.
all.
So this is to anyone. And so as you say, hello, friends, we want to talk about happiness. And then they kind of go, because isn't life better when we feel happy? And then people go, yeah, it is actually. And you start to relax because the actual act of talking, that's what makes trance easier. It sounds obvious, but trance is all about talking. And so as soon as you start that conversation, your team are nudging you little by little, just like you want them to do. Little by little, they're nudging you out of the way. But don't expect that you're suddenly just kind of going to go like that, and they're just going to be having this conversation and you're not aware of anything. Massive mistake. I thought that's what happened. Wrong.
No, I
For
feel
maybe
like
1 in 100, maybe 1 in 1,000 people, you go unconscious and your guide speaks. But even those people that say, "Oh, I'm a really deep trance medium," like as a badge of honor, even them are aware to a little degree of what's being said. Because I know some people that are like that, as in they do kind of fall off that cliff. And when I speak to them, they do tell me that they have recall, but not a lot. But then again, nor do I. And once you know that, it stops you holding yourself back because you want, in effect, you want spirit to do the work for you. Whereas the truth of it is, it's you both. It's always you and your spirit guides. And as soon as you know that, I'm saying this generally, as soon as you know that, that stops you making the mistakes that I made. So hopefully that answers the question.
it does. I mean, I'm aware of the guides blending.
Mm,
I feel the love and I feel the overshadowing.
good.
I feel the energy rising up through, and it comes to the throat, and then
Right, yeah.
then I'm aware that I know that they're ready to come
Right.
forward.
Yeah.
Before on the journey, I would obviously be petrified or fearful or doubting,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
I would have to release that energy because it was too much to hold.
Yeah, yeah.
Now I'm aware, but like yourself, I don't ask anybody special to come.
Yeah.
I just open up, and it's like, as you say, I'm here. Please,
Yeah.
please bring anything through that you
The,
wish. and I'm enjoying the journey.
Good.
And like my building works, I like to learn. I like to learn from lots of different prospects of people, to know, to pick brains, to pick pick things, so that some things resonate, some things might not resonate. Some people will give you a better idea, and it's like, oh yeah, I can try that, or yeah, I can go down that avenue and see what happens with that. So thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, look, you're more than welcome, and look, feel free to pick my brains anytime. Send me a message or an email, whatever, and I'm happy to answer questions, because it's about moving forward, all of us moving forward.
Indeed.
All right. The one thing I would say is specify. I know you've probably done it, but specify who is it that you want to work with you. Don't just say one of your spirit guides. Tell them, guys, we're working with Trance. I want you to share my voice. Tell your trance guide you want to work with them. All right. Okay. Not just a spirit guide, because you could have your healing guide with you and he's wondering, like, when you're doing some healing, because you're saying, I just want to connect to a guide. So we do need to, like, hold up the sign and go, hello, trance guide.
Okay.
So I know I don't mean that to so sarcastic.
No,
That sounds so
understand.
badly.
Understand.
Yeah. Tell them who you want, and
intentions.
They will be there. And don't be afraid to say the first word. That is probably the thing that will help you more than anything. Okay. As soon as you say it, you'll suddenly go, oh, thank God, I've said that first word. And next time, you'll be away. And all of the things you've described to me, James, tells me that you're exactly where you need to be. And it's just a question of giving them that voice. You've done everything else. So well done.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Now, who is it that joined us just after 8:30 with the Samsung? Do you want to just unmute yourself?
Hi.
Hi. Hello.
Hello.
Who are you?
I am Sarah.
Sarah.
I live in South Dakota, United States.
Oh wow, Sarah, that's
But
really lovely. Now,
yeah,
Sarah,
I'm from the UK. I'm from Eastbourne.
Sarah, well, it doesn't matter. I won't hold it against you. But sorry. Honestly, my mouth. I should stop my mouth.
That's okay. No, it's all right.
Sarah,
No problem.
what I was going to say is, you may have seen the event with a time that said 8:30. Now, my bad. I put the finishing time as the start time, and I put no finishing time. So I put that it started at 8:30. It started at 7.
Okay.
So it's my fault. Now, there's good news and good news. The good news is that I'll be doing this all again in 2 weeks, and you're welcome to join. The other good news is this is being recorded. So if you want to send me a message, unless you think this guy's just too weird, there's a reason I moved to South Dakota. If you want to send me a message, I will send you the recording link for this so you can watch the whole thing in your own time. And just please accept my apologies. I didn't realize until someone raised it to me this afternoon. I did change it straight away, but if you looked at it prior to me changing it, you would have thought 8:30 was the time. And it did say 8:30, but that was my error. All right. So I hold my hands up. There they are. Hands
No
being
problem.
held up. My mistake. So I'm sorry about that. So if you're expecting me to do some trance, it's already been and done. On the plus side, I really enjoyed it. so hopefully you will too. Any other questions before I leave you in peace, guys? You just can't believe you spent a couple of hours of your life doing this, did you? But joking aside, is anyone actively developing their trance at the moment? That's great to see. That's great to see. Excellent. Good. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop recording now. There we go. Stop recording.